something truly unique. If you're a fan of motocross, dirt bikes, or anything that gets the octane flowing, you're in the right place. Don't forget to subscribe to see more of this wild series. In this series of long-format YouTube videos, you'll follow along as I build the biggest and most advanced diorama I've ever done. There are so many steps, and I want to bring you into every one of them. Not just the result, but the effort behind it all. Let's rewind the tape a bit. In early October 2024, Vermoto reached out and said, "We need to do something, but we don't know what."
I was doom scrolling Instagram, and then I went down, the rabbit hole of Martin Palm. I don't have an idea, Martin. I'll be honest with you.
That sentence kickstarted everything. A few calls later, we landed on the idea, let's build a replica of Mesquite MX, the legendary track that hosts the World Mini Grand Prix. It's not just any race. This is Vermoto's own event, held every year at this exact location. And what makes it so special is that some of today's biggest motocross stars, the pros we all follow now, actually raced here as kids. So by recreating it, we're not just making a cool track. We're bringing the past into the present. It's a throwback, a tribute, and something totally new at the same time. Just expressed in different ways. We may not be winning races on the track anymore, but this is our way of staying in it, by creating something for it. I even pitched the idea to take it one step further. What if we digitize the diorama and bring it into MXBikes?
Taking your art and then in the MXBikes and taking it into those worlds it'd be an amazing opportunity for us to work with you guys at that level. We should run with that idea.
Now it's not just a model, it's a racing experience. In real life, in miniature, and in the digital world, all blending into one. So that's the short version of how all this started. If you want to follow this wild project and everything it took to make it happen, don't forget to subscribe. That would help me a lot. Now, let's dive into this massive, messy, scientific miniature madness. Welcome to Blending Realities. I just got back from the construction store, picked up everything I need to finally get started. Plywood sheets, joists, and styrofoam blocks. The basics for the foundation. At this point, I am not really sure what I have started yet. This diorama is on a scale I have never worked with before, but I do know this. If it turns out the way I hope, then we've got something pretty special. The structure will be built in two parts, each one 1.75 by 1.8 meters, so in total 3.5 meters wide. The whole point here is stability. Normally I work much smaller, things you can move around. But this one is different, so I am going heavy on the support. More screws than necessary, more weight, more care. Because once this is in place, nothing will or can move. It's already way bigger than I imagined. When I placed the two sheets side by side, that's when it hit me. How much work this is really going to be. The size is massive. I'm working in the scale of 1 to 150, so everything will be very tiny. But the amount of real-world meters packed into this space, it's way more than it looks. Next up, I start measuring and cutting the styrofoam sheets. This is the layer that'll sit right on top of the plywood. Its main purpose is grounding. I needed to shape elevation and depth. In some parts of the track, I'll actually need to dig below ground level, and this layer makes that possible. I use regular wood glue to lock it in place. Then I'll screw it down tight so nothing shifts. Once it's locked, it's staying there. This needs to be solid from the start. It might not look like much yet, but this is the base for every jump, corner, and detail that's coming. And if this part's not right, nothing else will be either. Once the base is done, I move on to placing out the big styrofoam blocks. At this stage, everything still looks very rough, but this is where the big challenge starts, and the environment is going to take shape. This phase is about to mapping out the environment. It's about a lot of numbers and angles and everything that I can see from above. I split the middle sections in two, so I can eventually separate the entire setup when it's finished. That's important for transport and handling later. After cutting, there's styrofoam flying everywhere. So I do a quick cleanup before gluing the pieces down. Then I start measuring out the most important reference points, taken straight from Google Earth. These are the guidelines I've already mapped out on my blueprint to get a rough sense of where everything needs to go. It includes height changes, environmental shapes, and elevation shifts. Then I sketch the track shape as accurately as I can. It doesn't need to be perfect at this stage at all. I want to start and I'm so excited to actually see this happen and all of that. But in another way, I want to start because there's so many numbers to actually thinking of and apply to this. To show what I mean, I've added a quick clip from my map measurements. Before shaping the actual track, I start by drawing the full layout in an Illustrator using the Path tool. I trace the outside and inside lines of the track layout, then convert that into a clean shape we can work with. From there, the magic happens inside the laser cutter. I am not usually use this material, but I'm using cardboard for this part. It's cheap, easy to work with, and it cuts super fast, which is good. Once all the pieces are ready, I start placing them on the table like a puzzle. My first reference point is the uphill section. It's the only part I know exactly where it goes. From there, I build outward, piece by piece, then I glue them into place with regular wood glue. And with that, phase 1 is done. It's time to shape the world. I'm starting to shape the uphill section, just roughly at first, to get a sense of the elevation and overall contour of the hill. I'm using a hot knife for the shaping and wearing a mask to avoid breathing in the plastic smoke from the styrofoam. Be sure to have mask and good indoor ventilation if you are going to do this. This part's too good to talk over, so I'll let you enjoy a few speed ramps while I work through this stage. I'm prepping a small add-on for the hill using joint foam. The piece of cardboard is sticking nicely to it. I let it expand and do its thing for a few hours. Then we can go back and shaping it. In the meantime, I go over the entire piece with my sander. I've hooked up the vacuum too, just to avoid having styrofoam dust flying everywhere. I'd be lying if I said I didn't enjoy this phase. It's the first moment where you can really start to see what this might become. This section here it's one of the most interesting parts of the track, since it's uphill here and downhill and uphill again. And this spot here needs to actually be nice looking. So we are looking at some details when it comes to this, which is it has a design of proper edge here, and then a little platform underneath. So we are trying to get the shape visible. So continue carving and see what happens. If there's something cool you think I should create next, let me know in the comments. I'm all ears. And don't forget to subscribe, it would help me a lot. When I now have sanded everything, the only thing I'm not satisfied with is
this part. I don't think it's bad, but to actually make the replica a replica, we have to be as close as possible with these details. Because here is a sand part and these connected here. I'm also not satisfied with the gap here. I mean, it's almost 6 meter wide here. The hill should actually levitate from here. We have to fine tune some angles, almost inward, should be more outward. It's the most important part of the whole track. So it has to be very, very carefully and well designed from my perspective.
The first phase of sculpting is finally coming to an end. At this point, we're starting to get a real sense of the landscape. I go over the entire model with a layer of plaster. This does two things. First, it helps smooth out some of the rougher edges from the foam. And second, it gives me a fresh layer to build more textures on top. This technique is something I use in almost all my builds. Once the plaster's in place, I take a wet sponge and gently go over the surface to give it that smooth, natural finish.
But I recognize I'm totally missed one detail in the track layout.
As I mentioned earlier when we built the foundation, some parts of the track actually go below ground level. And this section is one of them. While I was building, I completely forgot about it. So I had to go back, remove some of the plaster and dig into the ground and reshape the jumps for this section. We're now continuing with the next set of jumps and rollers. To make room for the tabletop sections, I first cut away parts of the cardboard base. Once that's done, I press each jump straight down into the styrofoam. I'm not gluing them just yet, since I'll be using joint foam to secure them later on. That stuff expands and locks everything into place once it cures. Now for the rollers, I'm using these small cutout pieces that act as rough forms. They don't look like much right now, but they're perfect for giving me a starting shape to work from. For this part, I won't bother with joint foam. Instead, I'll go straight in with plaster to fill the gaps and slowly sculpt the final shape from there. I've added a layer of joint foam over the face of the hill to help with the adjustments I had in mind earlier. I'm just using a paper knife with a fresh blade. The shaping doesn't need to be perfect since we will add a layer of plaster later on to blend everything together with the rest of the build. I also peeled off a section of foam to fix a big crack in the mountain, so we can cover that properly while I cover the hill. The jump needs to be fixed to the board, and this is exactly why I made those wooden forms. I fill them with enough foam to shape later. We can finally apply the first layer of plaster. This is the moment where the shape really starts to show and you can see it take form. While we have applied plaster on the whole diorama, we will go over and sand it and make the imperfections more perfect. But more of that in part 2. For the last part of this episode, we make the first layer on the rollers. The small wood pieces we saw before are doing just this. Just look at it. I have no words. It just works so awesome. If I just rewind the time, I think this is better than I expected, to be honest. Since I got rid of the whole environment, even the scale, you can see here the truck. It looks really small in the whole environment, so I think this will be epic. I can't wait to put all these small details into place to make this a fantastic piece of art. And that is all for this video. If you made it to the end, thank you so much for watching. If you liked this build, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and drop a comment with what you'd like to see next. Thanks again, and I'll see you in the next one.